So don't get me wrong, okay? There are plenty of reasons to feel good about the world that we live in, but there are occasions where it's hard to ignore all of the things that are going wrong. In situations like that, we start to indulge in this darker part of our minds that wants to know all of the bad stuff. Tell me the bad things, tell me the terrible things. And so that's why I thought today we would contemplate the horrors. Yes, it worked. You have no idea how long it took me to get this on my TV, by the way. Starting off, let's talk about everyone's favorite horrific thing, the economy. I don't have to tell you guys, but the stock market isn't doing so well right now. Our old buddy, the NASDAQ, the Dow Jones, they're struggling a little bit, which is usually an indicator of some bad things. I'm not gonna say that terrible word recession, but you know, we've certainly got some ingredients here. Not to mention, I mean, for all of our younger viewers here as well, you'll recognize that we will never be able to afford property. You know, we've got the price of homes rising way more than the price of wages. And usually we'll hear the older people say, well, you just got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Oh, you got to work hard. And I bought my house. It was $80,000 back in 1960. Yeah, this chart explains that. It explains why that's no longer the reality. I don't know about you guys, but I'm also just being bothered by the increased prevalence of some pretty dangerous technology. You guys know about doom scrolling? You ever heard of the doom scrolling on the Facebook? I pulled our articles here. We got Yale, we got Harvard, we got all the brightest minds in the world, and all of them are telling us that doom scrolling is very, very bad for our mental health. Very, very bad. And I don't know if you guys have heard of this new thing called AI, but apparently we're gonna fall in love with it. In the future, we're going to fall in love with AI, and then also it's going to take our orders at Taco Bell and KFC, and that's a little horrifying. That's scary. Now, those things are bad enough, but it's even worse that we live in a world that is at armed conflict. There is war in this world. There are 2 wars going on between 4 nations right now. That's just not good. You know, I mean, that's 2 more wars than we need to have going on in the world right now. Not cool. Very, very much horrors. Thank you, horrors. Very cool. You know, last but not least here, this topic really hits home personally. You guys are cyberbullying me. I mean, look at all these terrible comments. This guy says, go get a microphone stand. What do you think this is? Genius. First 2 minutes was a waste of time talking about blurring out the thumbnail. I'm sorry. Can't please everyone, I guess. And if that wasn't enough to rile you up, I have prepared a list of controversial topics here, such as religion, politics, crime, human rights. You can add your own here if that's still not enough for you. Now, in a world with these kind of existential horrors pressing down on us every day, it's normal to want some form of escape. And when I think escapism, when I think departing from reality, I immediately go to fantasy. And some of my favorite fantasy books have taken me to places that are far away from all of these realities, all of these terrible things. And I want to share them with you guys today because they are some of my favorite books. And I think that if you guys gave them a shot, they would become some of your favorite books as well. So let's start off by checking out the books. Oh yeah, I forgot I added that. Starting out with our first one here, this is Brandon Sanderson's Elantris, and this is the book that got me into Sanderson. If you guys are involved in any corner of the internet that loves books, you probably heard about Brandon Sanderson by now, and it's for a good reason. He's pretty good at what he does. Elantris has a bunch of really cool ideas and concepts in it, one of which I think is this idea of this undead city. There are these people in this city that can't die, but they're in this perpetual state of dying. They're all in pain. They're all suffering. There's a guy that's trying to save them. He's trying to save this city. The book is also really cool because it talks about the ills of organized religion. You know, I'm not here to put my opinion in this. I just think it is very interesting coming from Sanderson, who is a really big Mormon. There is a priest character in this book that is kind of like on this conquest. He's using his religion to conquer the people of this undead city. I also made sure to include the character arc up here because I think there's some really awesome character development in here. The book focuses on a 3-person rotating perspective, so you always get a fresh narrator every chapter, and every step of the way you get to see these characters grow and develop in really interesting ways. And then down here, this is his incredibly complex multiverse known as the Cosmere. So if you do like Brandon Sanderson's work, this is an excellent entry into that world, and you can continue to explore the Cosmere through his other titles as well. The next book here is none other than Redwall. And this one, I mean, this one hits hard. This is nostalgia every step of the way. I may be 100% blinded by nostalgia in choosing this book, but it's for a good reason, okay? Redwall is just as classic as it gets. This is an adventure book. It's super digestible, easy to read. I wouldn't quite call it a kid's book. It certainly has elements that will appeal to kids. All of the characters are woodland creatures. They're like mice, and they do cool stuff. They have weapons, they have swords, and they fight each other just like, you know, the knights of old and how people would do it. Animals all have different attributes, obviously, like the owls can fly, the badgers are strong, and the mice are kind of small and timid, but they sort of have this courage to them, and it's really cool to kind of experience that alongside this creature, you know, something small and timid that kind of is forced to bring out his inner courage when things get tough. So we have this adventure. We also have romance. These mice fell in love. And if you didn't think you wanted to read about mice falling in love, I think you do, because it's pretty good. And if you do enjoy this book, there is a fantastic animated series that goes with it. And then if you do enjoy Redwall, I mean, there are all of these books in the Redwall series, so like there's plenty of digging to do. I mean, what can I say? I mean, even just looking at this image here, I mean, this is such a nostalgia bomb. It's just so good. It's so good. What else can I say? Last but not least, you saw this one coming. It is none other than The Hobbit. I know that this might be kind of a basic take because, you know, Tolkien, everyone's heard of Lord of the Rings, but I feel like The Hobbit is a lot lesser known and a lot lesser understood, and I think that's a shame. As far as fantasy goes, this is a book that is pretty digestible. This is one that was meant to be read by kids. It's sort of a children's book in the same way that Harry Potter is a children's book. It's enjoyed by kids. It's also enjoyed by adults. It's a very good way to kind of dip your toe into these fantasy worlds. So if you're somebody that doesn't really want to absorb a ton of lore, a ton of backstory, a bunch of different characters, this is a very easy entry to just kind of start off in the fantasy genre. We have, you know, obviously taking down a dragon. What the heck? Sort of this David and Goliath story. We have this very, again, sort of this theme of this very timid, shy character who has to take on a big challenge. Of course, we do have plenty of magic. I mean, Tolkien is the master of writing magic, sort of this mysterious, kind of curious magic system that doesn't have any hard rules, doesn't have any hard definitions to anything, but sort of invokes this like sense of kind of like wonder and awe in the reader. It's really interesting the way he does it. And of course, you know, this book starts small, but it does end in a major clash, the Battle of the Five Armies. And then of course, if you do like this book, I mean, it leads right into the Lord of the Rings, which everyone knows and loves and has heard of. I know that the Hobbit movies have kind of stirred some controversy because they're not super good. I think if you watch the Hobbit movies and you found them interesting, I would totally read this book because it's not nearly as long as the movies make it seem. It's only about 300 pages. Very good way to dip your toe into fantasy if you're somebody that has never tried it before. Yeah, this world sometimes can be a scary place, but I think one of the best ways to get out of it and escape for a little bit is in a good book, and I love doing that with fantasy. If you guys found anything in this video interesting, helpful, insightful, go ahead, let me know down below in the comments, and thanks for watching.